Rick Ross is this guy, man. The internet. I tell you guys all the time. Do not follow these internet people. You know they are playing a character. They're playing a character to seduce your mind to make you believe that you can do the things that they do and they can sell products, right? And they can get you to believe in the lifestyle. Man, it's the same way they gave you the lifestyle of rich and famous back in the day. It's just all a bunch of foolishness. This dude was a corrections officer. He was the police, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. Like, but a lot of for certain demographics of our community, you know, if you are a corrections officer or a police person, you are just a bad person. So now because he's a rapper, he has to hide the fact that he was once worked for the Department of Corrections. He has to hide that. Why? You was gainfully employed. You had good benefits, right? And then and while you was an aspiring, struggling rapper named Teflon, at some point you made it, right? You made it. But for some reason, you got to hide the fact that you was a gainfully employed man, not breaking the law, not harming other black people, not selling poison, not doing none of that stuff. But you're glorified by certain parts of the community when you a dope boy, you unaliving people, you got a bunch of garden tools going around, you know, you got all that kind of stuff, and now you're celebrated and glorified, right? So I'm sure 50 Cent was behind this, but Remy Ma on her new network, she's bringing out a movie called There's Only One, The Biggest Boss. So he put a cease and desist out on her where it says, "Stop stealing my IP," right? Check this out. So TMZ was reporting after he put this cease and desist. Rick Ross to Remy Ma, "There's only one biggest boss. Stop stealing my IP," right? It goes, Rick Ross respect the hustle, but he's saying Remy Ma has gone too far. The biggest boss is going after Remy and her network for a movie that he says rips off her nickname and music, right? Remy is planning to release a film. Called The Big Boss on her platform, the Remy Ma Network. Now, according to a letter sent by Ross attorneys and obtained by TMZ, Rick is claiming the project features the unauthorized use of his music and trade name and demanded that they halt the project from going forward, right? Not only that, Ross says it's confusing fans into thinking he has something to do with the movie, citing comments on social media. A rep for Remy Ma tells TMZ Remy was personally unaware of the concerns raised regarding the biggest boss and takes this matter seriously. She has maintained a personal and professional relationship with Rick Ross for more than 20 years and would never intentionally engage in any actions that could harm his brand or cause any offense. She's full of crap. The film is apparently about a police officer who steals a drug dealer's life story, oh my God, and turns it into a rap career, eerily similar to Ross' own backstory of being a correctional officer turned rapper. Some fans online have speculated that the project may have been an act of retribution for Remy, as Ross has been very supportive of fighter Carissa Shields, who is currently dating Remy's ex-husband. But Remy's reps say Remy has also reached out to Ross directly upon being made aware of the issue. The title was immediately removed from the platform. The Remy Ma Network is now working closely with its partners to strengthen review processes and ensure that the situations like this do not occur moving forward. Now, listen, man, we all know darn well who that was intended for and what that was about. You ain't fooling us, man. But he's been under fire for this kind of stuff for a while, man, because the story matches up. But he's been asked these questions for so long, and he said that he was a correction officer only for 4 months, right? He was on People Podcast talking like this.
By the way, too, you worked. I don't know if you want to talk about it all because
it's too easy.
This is your room.
I can't wait.
So were you a correctional officer at one point?
I was, yeah.
So going all the way back. When was that? How long ago?
Maybe when I was 20.
20 years old.
Yeah.
What kind of people were in there?
You know, I didn't really get to make it to the prison because you got to go through training and all that, and I didn't last long.
Right.
I may have lasted 4 months.
Right.
Before they said,
yeah,
I was a little tardy.
Mm-hmm. What made you want to do that?
One of my big homies had just got in trouble, and a lot of things were going on, and he just suggested it.
You fuck with it or no?
I didn't. Anything you gotta really do and you fucking running and jogging and
Yeah.
all of that shit, man. I missed a few days.
What was your paycheck a week then?
It was horrendous.
How much?
It's like $25K a year, I saw, right?
No, some shit like $500 every 2 weeks.
$500 every 2 weeks.
Yeah.
How long did it take?
They
you
was
to make-
trying to tell, they wanted me to do right, man. They said they seen greatness in me.
Yeah.
They wanted me to be great, man. And they actually had 2 choices for me, a fireman or corrections officer.
Imagine Rick Ross, you're in a fire and Rick Ross comes and saves you.
You'll probably burn like a...
Yeah, he's saving your ass. He's getting your girl,
I love
leaving
that.
you.
No, it's just always, it's just sometimes you
Rick Ross saves a cat out of the tree, just climbs up there.
I'm going to be honest. Summer wouldn't have anything to worry about.
She wouldn't. Well, guess what? We keep it. We have a lot of fire alarms in our apartment, and we're very protective there. We make sure no fires happen in that apartment. So
what apartment?
You take your ladder. You can take your ladder and you can take it down to Egypt's house and go over there.
No, because that was a nice apartment. What apartment building was it?
Rick Ross is desperately trying to save his image, man, of being a gangster, of being a boss, right? But 1090 DJ, he came out, man, and he always out in black folk. He came out here and he reported on this, and he went and did some digging and found out that this guy was on the force for way longer than that, right? He came out and uncovered this.
New news, back in 2008, pictures would be released of Ross in uniform, and he'd speak exclusively with All Hip Hop stating, "My life is 100% real. These online hackers putting a picture of my face when I was a teenager in high school on other people's body. If this shit was real, don't you think they would have more specifics, like dates and everything?" So a then 32-year-old Ross claimed the pic was photoshopped, his kingpin lifestyle was real, and there was no proof behind the CO allegations. Well, a media website by the name of The Smoking Gun would send in a public records request receiving 86 pages from the Florida Department of Corrections about Officer Ricky's short career. A photo of William Roberts, aka Rick Ross's State of Florida application, would state he received his diploma from Miami Carroll City High and went on to Albany State University to study criminal justice. On his supplementary application, he'd state his nickname was Big East and denied knowing anyone in prison, along with never working in prison or in law enforcement. Now, with every new recruit, the Department of Corrections wants to know how willing you are to complete your correctional duties. Ross would check off he's willing to work rotating shifts, carry a firearm, and work with violent inmates, homosexuals, etc. He'd also state he's willing to shoot an inmate who's attempting to escape, body search a male or female inmate, and write an incident report. In 1995, Ross would take an oath of loyalty to support the Constitution and would receive a letter stating he's now officially a correctional officer trainee at the South Florida Reception Center. 5 months later, it was now 1996, and Ross would receive an award for completing 540 hours of basic training. Ross was now an official corrections officer and can be seen taking a picture at his graduation ceremony. 4 months later, he'd receive a certificate of appreciation for perfect attendance from the same woman he can be seen shaking hands with at his ceremony. But eventually, all good things must come to an end. And in June of 1997, Ricky Rose sent in a resignation letter and officially left the force. But like I said, this isn't new news. This came out back in 2008, and 50 Cent started calling Ross Officer Ricky in 2009. That same year, Rick Ross would admit to XXL it was in fact him in the pictures. He'd state, "Me not answering or addressing that situation has nothing to do with my career. I've accomplished enough and I've made enough money for me to be good. Yes, it was me in those pictures, but I'ma tell you this, me taking that job, I was doing my job. You understand what I mean?" He'd continue on saying the stuff he talks about is real, the dope is real, and the gun talk is official. But fans would forever speculate, when exactly was Rick Ross in the streets serving bricks? In an interview with the Full Send podcast, the alleged kingpin was asked about his time as a corrections officer in Florida State Prison.
Now, for a person like me that grew up in the streets, been in and out of those, behind those walls multiple times, right? I laugh at dudes like this, right? You're trying your best to be something that you're not. But instead of just, for me, instead of just being honest, like, listen, man, you know, at one point, I went in to get a job. I graduated. I came out. You know what's crazy? And how I know these dudes are fake? Because some of the biggest D-boys back in the 80s went to college. They met connects. See, when you was a dude in the ghetto just on the block and never went nowhere, you don't meet nobody. The dudes that actually had the connections was guys that moved around and was in spaces and places where you was able to meet people. You was able to take trips, right? And you would meet this guy, be able to go to Miami, go to California, go out to Vegas, go to places, go to the fights. You meet people, right? If you was a guy that was just on the block on the south side, you ain't getting no connect like that. No, a lot of these guys, a lot of those guys early on, early 80s, right? They was in college, they played sports, and they met an Arturo or a Venezuela, or they met somebody, right? They was moving around, right? Going places, and you met a connect, and then you went to the hood and found the D-boys that had the money. So he got the bread, I got the connection. I go to him, get the bread, now we moving, we circulating. That's the way it operated. So why would you run away from being a corrections officer going to college? You ain't got to hide that. But you only got to hide it when you are fake and a phony and you never lived that life. See, dudes like me that come from the street for real, I know how this thing go, right? Some of those dudes that had the connections that was moving works wasn't even gangsters. They linked up with the gangsters to move the work. That's just the way it went. Because they was moving around, man. A lot of times, them Flacco and them don't even want to give the work to the guys. You know what? Let me chill out. All I'm trying to tell you guys out there is, you young people, is, man, he's a fake and he's a phony. And the fact that he's trying to run and hide from it exposes him even more, right? Remy Ma knows what she's doing. She knows exactly what she's doing. And I smell 50 Cent all over this. But y'all gotta let me know what y'all think, man. 50 Cent is behind this. But y'all gotta let me know what y'all think, man. If you made it this far in the video, hit that like button, subscribe to Street Media TV, leave your comments in the comment section. And remember, I love y'all. Till the next time. Peace.